Welcome learners. In this session we would be discussing cybercrime. I am Professor Neeti Agarwal, and in cybercrime it is a continuation of the cyberspace part and how the cyberspace creates a challenge for the crime or the theft to occur in the cyberspace. So we are going through a changing time where we are finding lot of changes happening, and for the past 3 months you must have witnessed that most of the things are happening online, and in that case the crime is also becoming more and more prevalent. So we need to understand and we need to protect also ourselves from the crimes which is happening on the cyberspace. So what exactly is cyberspace? So when we see the module of study in this case, we would be discussing the cyber and the computer crimes, how to prevent crimes, what are the implications of choosing the link system, and what is the road to implementation in this case. What more measures could be taken up. Now when we talk about the computer crimes, there is a difference between the cyber crime and the computer crimes. Computer is something which is tangible, computer which is in front of you, which you can see and which you can use. So most of the common types of computer crimes are forgery, the fraud by system manipulation intentionally, any modification to the data or programs or the databases, and accessing computers without authorization. Computer crimes usually happen in the physical space and with or without the network. Usually what happens is when the computer crimes, usually the person is known to the other party and they just try to steal the information from one computer to the another, and then they create the fraud. So it is kind of a system manipulation. So this is what is computer crimes. When we come to the cybercrime part, cybercrime usually takes place in the virtual space. So again, when we talk about cyberspace, we can say computer crime takes place in the real space and cybercrime takes place in the virtual space, and it is basically through the digital environment. It usually happens globally as there is no geographical limit for cyberspace. From even sitting from this particular corner of the country to the other corner of the country or other corner of the globe, the cybercrime can be done. So it is on the digital environment, and it is the crime which usually takes place online. Basically it is online crime only, and often it is committed by targeting the computer networks or devices. Usually it is hacked. It can range from security breaches to identity theft, anything. And it can include, the crime can include something like revenge porn, something like cyber stalking, harassment, bullying, child sexual exploitation, anything can happen on the cyberspace. And there are n number of crimes. We will be discussing the top 5 crimes, cyber crimes happening in present times, and how to take the preventive measures. There are certain acts and certain laws also by the various governments of the states and the countries to curb cyber crimes. Still, with the advent and evolution and enhancement in technology use, this type of crime is increasing day by day. So we need to understand why is cybercrime happening, how it happens, and what is cybercrime. Cybercrime can be of different types. These are the 5 basic types of cybercrime which are very popular. The first is the cyberbullying, which encompasses various harassing behaviors online, like humiliation, like insult, or like threat. And cyberbullying can happen through emails, it can happen through verbal messages, through social media, anything. Now you have phishing scams. You must have witnessed, and everybody who is using the emails must have witnessed the false emails coming. And these are the phishing scams. They are attempt to, sometimes you would find that your email is hacked, your email is not working, you're not able to open your email. So this is known as phishing scams. This is an attempt to obtain the sensitive or the personal information from a computer user, and this can be done through cyberspace. So this is known as cybercrime. Now, cyber stalking. Cyber stalking is the prolonged use of cyber harassment with the aim to kill, injure, harass or intimidate a target. Now this is very popular kind of a cyber crime, where the cyber harassment is done by the second party to the first party through emails, through messages, through online kind of misbehavior and posting unreasonable messages. This is with the aim to basically kill that person or injure that person or harass that person. Then there is impersonation, that is identity theft scam also, which is gaining access to credit card or banking account and using it. This access to credit card or banking account can be done through any mode, and this can be copied, as I talked about the digital identity being copied through digital signatures. So this identity theft scams, you must have come across people just copying the credit card numbers and then trying to access it through cyberspace. So this is the identity theft scam. Then you have invasion of privacy. It is trying to intrude, this is hacking, basically hacking, intruding on a person's personal life to read the emails, etc. This can be unintentional also or intentional. In some cases it is out of inquisitiveness and playful nature. This happens, the hacking happens, and hacking can be unintentional as well as intentional, but most of the hackings are intentional in nature and they result in the security breaches also, like terrorist attacks and other things, or the gaining of the information about a government secret data. So these kind of personal information can be hacked through. So this is one of the major crimes. These are the 5 major crimes happening in the world today. How to prevent crimes? This is very important to understand, that when the crimes are happening, how to prevent them. First, it can be done through transactional information, the content information, and using a full service internet security suite. I was talking about the encryption data. So one has to be very careful. Using strong passwords, updating the software frequently, updating oneself about the security breaches so you can just inform the particular site, protection against identity theft, and things to do if the crime happens. Now in things to do, these are the other parts, are the transactional information, the content information, etc. These can be done when you are actually working on the computer. But in things to do if the crime happens, suppose you're using a social media site and somebody is trying to stalk you, somebody is trying to hack you through that mail or through that social media site. In that, what you can do is you can just block that person. That is one of the forms. Then if that doesn't work, then in that case what you can do is you can just inform, because there are privacy norms and the protection norms in all the social media sites. You can immediately report them that this kind of situation is happening. And if the crime happens, then every detail can be reported to them, and this is how you can prevent the crimes happening. So because the bullying, the stalking, the phishing, these things are very common now. So you need to prevent yourself. So for that you need to have very strong passwords which should not be disclosed to anyone. While using the sensitive information, the private computers or the personal computers should be used. The computers should not be shared for the public use. For example, in the office computers which are on intranet or VPN services, they should not be used for personal work, so that the information is not leaked. So all these precautions can be taken to prevent these cyber crimes. Now these are the basic measures to curb the cyber crime. Cyber crime, you need to observe first that what is happening. There are cases where we are unawares and we are not able to understand that the cyber crime is occurring. In cases of emails, false emails coming, most of the time what happens is we tend to open, we have an inquisitiveness to open the emails and see what is there, and as soon as you open the email and download that particular thing, the whole system crashes. So you need to observe whether the email or whether the information which is being figured out, which is being circulated, is actual, is trustworthy, is recognizable, is verifiable or not. If it is not, then it is better not to open it and just put it in a trash. So this is observing. Then the other part is conversing. This part basically comes with the cyber harassment part, cyber bullying part. In this case, you need to converse with people around you that certain things are happening, because the information has to be circulated, disseminated between the known people so that they also know that something of this kind is happening. Cyber mob attacks are also very or are a major part of cyber crime. So in that case also you need to converse. The other part is, instead of deleting the information, you need to record and document the information, so that if the crime happens in the worst case, that crime can be, that documented part can be shared and can be used against the person or the individual or the organization who has done the cyber crime. Reporting, as I gave you the example of social media sites, there are reporting counters, there are reporting sections, there are reporting units on the website itself where you can report that this kind of activity is happening on my account, which can be taken care by the individual or the specific social media site. So reporting is very important. And of course, the support mechanism, to gather the support mechanism, you need to inform people. You need to have people around you. You need to have the connectivity. You need to connect with others. So when you're discussing something, you can always post on the social media site to gather the support that this kind of activity is happening. And people will come forward through the cyberspace itself. Now, we have studied no-link system and link system. No-link system is the major reason for the cybercrime, most of the cyber crimes happening. The no-link architecture has more tangible drawbacks. You can see those tangible drawbacks in form of cyber crimes. The crimes can be easily planned and carried out on such systems, as there is no accountability and as there is no reason to think that there would be somebody monitoring the person. So usually the no-link systems, they have these cyber crimes happening a lot. So you must be accessing, you should access only those parts where the link system is available to protect yourself from these cyber crimes. But there are certain cases, like in the social media sites, where the no-link system works and people get the access freely. So in that case, it is very difficult to be away from the cyber crimes. So in that case, the preventive measures can be taken care of. So you need to be very careful and aware as to how to avoid the cyber crime. Now we will discuss what are the barriers to secure the identity architecture and what are the barriers which are not able to secure us, which leads to the cyber crime. So basically these are the 4 barriers available through which the secured identity architecture is not there, and which relates to the cyber crime, which encourages cyber crime. When we talk about the social norms, society and social norms do exist which act as barriers for securing the identity architecture. Then you have markets, then you have legal barriers, And finally, you have the architectural barriers. We will discuss these barriers one by one in brief, and we will see what these barriers are and how they are unable to secure the identity architecture and what needs to be done to have the secured identity architecture. Now, if we talk about the social norms barrier, the main social obstacle to implementation of a cyberspace identification mechanism is that most of the public does not even recognize it as a problem. As I said earlier also, you need to be aware. So, within the existing identification architecture, people are not even aware that this kind of cyberspace identification is not safe, is not secured, and basically this is happening. You must be visualizing number of videos being circulated which are made at home and which are being circulated through social media sites. Now, these people are not aware that these videos which are being made at home or other parts, they are not secure in nature, and they are just enjoying things. So, the public is not even aware. The social norms do not permit that, and the general public does not even understand the need for an improved secure cyberspace identification system, because that will hinder their accountability. That will hinder their freedom, not the accountability, that will hinder their freedom, the freedom to use a particular service. So, in social norms they say we have freedom of speech, we have freedom of saying anything, we have freedom of doing anything, we have all the rights. These are the social norms, and that create a barrier to secure the identity architecture. The other part is the market barriers. The market barrier is one of the major key problems, because there is a significant business model risk for companies providing identity verification solutions. Now, in case what happens is, if the businesses they start providing the identity verification solutions, in that case the businesses may go down, because then the customers may not reach to them, fearing that their identity will be disclosed or will be misused, will be used for some other purpose. That trust is not built in, that reputation is not built in. So, in that case the market barriers play an important role in not securing the identity architecture. So, in other words, it is unclear exactly how these companies can make money. So, the profit making organizations are also facing lot of issues regarding the same. Now, suppose you go to a shop and they ask for your mobile number for the updates, for the services, and you are reluctant to give their mobile number, because the mobile number, as soon as you give the mobile number, your identity is released, because everything is related to the mobile number. So, in that case this barrier, this particular notion that your identity would be revealed creates hassles for markets, and this becomes a market barrier. So, in addition, economic incentives also do not encourage the development of an open standard identity infrastructure, and ultimately the success of an open standard identification architecture exists. So, this is very important to understand, that the market barriers are also there. Now, barriers, the last part is the legal barriers, the barriers to secure identity architecture. These are the legal barriers, and the most critical legal obstacles to the development and adoption of any effective digital identity mechanism is the confusion over the legal liability rules. For example, who is responsible if someone's digital identity is misused or stolen? Who bears the cost of a digital identification mechanism if the mechanism is compromised? Now, these are certain issues which needs to be answered, and for this, in a country like India, IT Act 2000 has been framed for taking care of the cyber crimes, and it has been amended in 2008 as well. But still there are certain legal issues which do occur, like biometrics. Like we had so much of issues with releasing our biometrics and linking it to the bank accounts, our identity linking it to the bank accounts and the mobile numbers, the fingerprints to link it with the mobile numbers. So these were some of the issues which needs to be taken care of to secure the identity architecture. The appropriate liability rules also must reconcile to competing principles. The first one is the selected liability rules should help creating incentives that will drive towards the widespread adoption of a secure identity infrastructure, and the second one is to have an efficiently operating marketplace for identity mechanisms. It is desirable for the selected liability rules to place liability on the party who is the least cost avoider of any harm. So, this is very important to understand the legal barriers. So, this is what this is the part of the legal barriers, and now coming to the architectural barriers. So, in broader terms there are three basic types of identification mechanism, and we have discussed all in the digital identity, but here we are discussing the three broad identification mechanisms. One is the authentication, the other is the unique information, and third is the unique characteristics. So, in authentication, you can it is based on a person's shared knowledge such as the password. The unique information is person's possession of unique information or device such as digital certificate. Unique characteristics are the person's inherent unique characteristics such as fingerprints or other biometrics, and if these are not provided, then the cyberspace is not secure. Now, we need to go above these norms and the social norms that these biometrics or authentication information which we are providing to the cyberspace is secured or not. So, as I said, biometrics is always available in the real space and it is lost on the cyberspace. So, architectural barriers can always be removed, and nowadays in the present context most of the cases the architectural barriers are of course being removed to a large extent. Now, we end this session with the thought that cyberspace is very good. It is very good to connect with each other, interconnectivity is required, but then it is important to be aware, it is important to be protected, it is important to understand the concept of cyberspace. We know our country is one of the largest users of internet services in the world. But then using internet does not solve the problem. You need to be aware of how to use that internet, how to work on that computer mechanism, how to work on cyberspace to be away from cyber crimes, away from cyber harassment. So, I will just wind up this session here. Thank you so much.